to the show today, guys. We've got Trent Brock on today. Trent, thanks for, taking the time to jump on the show today.
Absolutely. No problem. My pleasure.
So if you can give me, give us all a brief description of, you, and a little bit of, what you do, in the entrepreneur role, right now.
Sure. I'm Trent Brock. I'm from Louisiana originally. I consider myself kind of like a redneck Southern gentleman kind of guy. Bit of a, I'm a go-getter. I love challenges. I love new things. I love to go see new things, do new things. So when I graduated from college, I moved on and I moved to Dallas. So I lived there for several years, and I was an IT guy by trade. That's what I got my degree in. So I did that, and I traveled around the country and saw the country. And then I kind of wanted to go international, and it just wasn't an opportunity with the IT company. So I did that on my own. So I moved to Europe for a year. I lived in Spain, tried to learn Spanish. Was a total disaster. Learned, taught English, and traveled around Europe and saw all the things that we look at in all the history books. So I did my Europe thing, and then It's like, what am I going to do next? So I wanted to go down under and try to get into Aussie. It was too hard with the visa thing and all that stuff, but I could get into New Zealand very easily. And I thought, well, hey, that's close enough. So my plan was to do that for a year and, do the IT thing for a year and then come back and work in the oil field as an oil sales guy with my dad. My dad's been in oil 45 years. That's what he does. That was kind of the plan. So I got down to New Zealand and I loved it. I was making good money. I was a contractor and did that for about 4 or 5 years. And every year, Dad and I would kind of catch up and say, hey, is it time yet? And I'd say, hey, I like it down here and I'm making good money. And I know when I come back and work for you, it's going to be forever kind of thing. So after about 5 years, he was like, hey, the landscape's changed and I don't have a need for you anymore. So I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do? My whole life plan is ruined. So, I just was continuing to do IT, and I was like, I want to do my own thing. I think that, we always learn about, right? You're never going to be what you want to be you're never going to be successful unless you own your own business. So, I had a lot of cash, that I built up, single guy, flattening in New Zealand, saving my money, had some money to do something with. Well, I met this American guy in the boxing gym down there. I like boxing and kickboxing. I just trained to stay in shape, nothing special. And he was down there training some fighters. They were down there getting ready. And so over a couple months, I got to know them and I got to know him. And one of the things that he said is like, hey, look, in Washington State where I live, we do festival kettle corn, in the spring and in the summer. And, gosh, do they have kettle corn here? And I was like, you know what? I don't think they do. And so I went to the supermarket. I looked around. I went to the local markets. They had several really big, good local markets on the weekends. And I thought, you know what? Something tells me this is a go. I just know.
The aha moment.
You got it, man. You got it. You have some of those, and sometimes you just know that you know. And, I'm not a super smart guy. I'm just not, but I'm a hard worker. I have really good common sense, and I'm not a quitter. So, I just knew if I had something that I believed in the plan, that I could probably make it work. And so, that's what I was looking for. I wasn't looking to invent anything. I don't think I don't want to do all that. I don't want to go through the patents. I don't want to do all this stuff and everything. I want to do, something that I know that's going to work. And I just thought, hey man, you know what? Why not copy something that I know works and do it somewhere else? That's all it was. That's as simple as it was, right?
Don't have to reinvent the wheel, right?
That's right. That's right. And so my business partner was the guy that had done this already, right? He had done this for several years in the markets. He had the formula. He knew what we needed to do. He already had the setups. So, hey man, we put some money together and we got some cookers made. We got some tents made and out to the markets we went. So I was working IT during the week and I did the markets on the weekend. I did that for probably about 9 months. And
awesome.
Yeah. And man, it just took off, right? cash business, making wads of cash on the weekend. It was just cool, And so it was a really small deal, right? We had a couple of setups made. We were only doing one. It was me and like my buddy. I had my buddy going out helping me, right? And I was paying him popcorn on the weekend, and, taking him to, beer and pizza afterwards, right? Well, after a few months, it was moving. And so I hired a couple people. So that's how it started going. And,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's really kind of, this whole similar rags to riches kind of deal, really, so
Yep.
we had the markets going and we expanded with the markets and we kept going and we got some more kettles made and some more tents. Okay. And I had 4 setups and, I had I don't know, I can't remember. I mean, that's 12, 13 years ago, 12, 13 people working for me, setups going crazy on the weekends, busy on Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, all the markets, then festivals, events. We got a contract with the stadium that the Vodafone Warriors play in, the rugby team, which, is like similar to the local football team,
Yep.
and,
Absolutely.
and doing concert, all sorts of stuff, man. So we were rolling with that, right? I was like, okay, this is it. Well, a lady from one of the, cinemas approached us and said, we love your popcorn. We want it, but you can't have it in this rinky dink plastic bag. You got to have it in like a real potato chip bag, like one at the
Right.
supermarket. And I'm just like, oh man, okay. So we paid this guy, we had a design made, we made a bag, learned about packaging, we had, so it was this whole deal where we were halfway, like, we were halfway using our kettles from the markets, right? Doing it all by hand. And then we were kind of halfway doing it, manufacturing. And by I mean by that is
Okay.
we would have like a bag. We had a bag. Okay. We take it with a scoop. We fill it up by hand. We have a little bitty little scale. We'd weigh it on the scale. It's 150 grams, like 6, 7 ounces. Is it right? Pour a little in, pour a little out, take it in, hand seal it, move it down the line, put a date on
It's
it.
a lot,
Oh,
a
man.
lot of manual work to produce that
Oh, you know
quantity
what? I'm
for
like kind
sure.
of reliving it now that I'm telling it. It's been so long, right? So that's how we got
Absolutely.
going. We made like probably 50 boxes. Okay. Like, what is that? Like 600 bags. Okay. And like a full day's work. Like 6 or 7, 8 of us, something like that, man. And we launched and we went into about 7 or 8 cinemas. Okay. And we went
Wow.
full on, man. We,
That was that turning point,
oh
huh?
man, dude, it's just like hard work, man. Super hard work, right? But I'm thinking this is going to pay off. This is going to be the deal, right? So
Yep.
we had our little team. We had our samplers going into the I'm not in the supermarkets, into the cinemas. Some of my team, we were hiring them. We go in, they have a little table, and do a little thing with the sample cups, and we give a sample.
Yep.
Well, we were smashing it, man. We were smashing it out, right? First couple of months. Well, then the orders started declining. Then all of a sudden, no orders. Okay, what's going on?
Wow.
So finally, we get a hold of the marketing manager, and she said, "Hey, you guys are actually cutting into our sales, and we make a whole lot more profit rather than yours. So financially, this doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to us anymore."
No, not at all. It
Oh,
sounds.
break my heart. Oh, we're done for, right? We're done for. It's over with. Okay. So, me and my business partner, we got together, brainstorming. He's like, you know what? That's fine. We're more of a supermarket product than anything else. Supermarket, convenience stores, that's really our game. So we started pitching, and gosh, man, we probably pitched about 12 different distribution and marketing companies, that take on your
Yep.
product, they go in the supermarket, they distribute it, they sell it, they do it for you. I mean, we weren't big enough to like have trucks and sales team for
Right.
all of the country and all that. So that,
And to have to learn a whole new process
oh
of how to
yeah,
get shelf space
yeah,
and get those meetings, just
that's it.
it's a tough road.
That is right. So, I've learned, over the years, do what you're good at. Okay. And do that well. And the things that you're not, pay someone to do that. right?
Absolutely.
So I am really dang good at making kettle corn, okay? And I'm pretty dang good at selling it too, okay? But am I good at running a whole sales team all over the country, distributing it all over the country? Maybe. But, we pay somebody a percentage to help us do that, okay?
Right. Know enough to be dangerous, but maybe get in a little bit of trouble.
That's right. That's right. So when the sales guys are out, right, and and there's a hard nut to crack, one of these buyers, they bring the owner in, and I bring the popcorn in, and I give them the bag, and I do the whole sales pitch, and obviously you can tell I'm quite charismatic. And dude, I get something done every single time, right? Because they're like, oh my gosh, the owner came in. And I did, I was like, dude, I was slanging popcorn this morning. I smell like popcorn, don't I? And I come in and I have, I got the popcorn cologne on, and dude,
Yeah.
I get something done every time. So they bring me in, to do some sales sometimes, but mainly, man, I'm at the factory. I'm running the thing. I'm looking at the sales reports. I'm doing all that kind of stuff. I'm helping them where I can. I'm filling in the gaps, and, I'm doing what I'm good at, making popcorn and getting it out the door. So,
Absolutely.
we've grown so we went from, like these 4 little setups, right? Cash business on the weekend to servicing all the supermarkets in New Zealand. And, then we got all that, and it's like, well, we still have capacity, we can still make more popcorn. And, so it's always this thing, right? Do you have enough sales?
The ebb and flow
You
of
got it, man.
business, right?
Absolutely. Right. Supply and demand. It's like, well, we still, we can still run the machinery more. So, let's get some more sales. Well, how are we going to do that? Because we pretty much saturated New Zealand. So then we go out, right? Start doing international stuff. So then we expand. And the first thing we did is, we got with one of the groups in New Zealand, one of the government groups that kind of help people, expand and do exports and all that kind of stuff. And we got with them, and, we did some studies and we did some talking, and, like I've learned, don't go where you're going to spend tons and tons of money, okay, trying to get a little piece of some market, okay? So
Right.
we wanted to go where someone wanted to love us, right? Not where we were trying to buy some love. So, for example,
Right.
Australia. So, for example, Australia, man, dude, it's cutthroat over there. It is mean. The supermarkets are mean. The percentages are mean. They got tons of popcorn products over there. Super hard competition. It's cutthroat, man. But hey, Singapore's the gateway to Asia, right? And dude, if we got one city in Asia, it's like getting all of New Zealand, okay?
Right.
So New Zealand's only 5 million people, right? So, that was our plan. So we expanded into Singapore. I went to a couple shows. We got this distributor. They specialize in selling New Zealand products into Singapore, right? So again, we found somebody in their niche. That's what they're good at.
Yep.
That's what they do, right? So we got on board with them, went to the show, did the sample thing for, several weekends, and did all that, got some traction, expanded into Singapore. Okay. So now we're in the supermarkets in Singapore, and we've expanded into Malaysia. We do some stuff in Taiwan. We've done some stuff in the Middle East, and we supply the islands and all the Pacific Islands and stuff like that. They go straight out of New Zealand. So,
Okay.
that's kind of my story. At this point, I've got like 4 popcorn lines now, 2 factories, 12, 13 staff. We're the number 2 popcorn in New Zealand. And, the guy that's in front of me has been in business like 50 years. And man, he owned the market. No one's ever even come in and even like stayed
Tried
around.
to compete.
Stayed around, right? Everybody, we've seen people over the last 12, 13 years I've been doing this. We've seen them come and go. These little guys come and go. We're the only people that, there's one other guy that kind of has a piece of the market now. Okay. Me and one other guy, and then we got a big boy in town. But hey, you know what? There's enough for everybody, right?
Absolutely.
There's enough for all of us.
And do you guys have plans now to continue to expand? Or are you at a place now where it's more focused on the sustainability and the longevity of the brand in the market you're at?
Gosh, man, I'll tell you what, a couple times a year, I have these meetings with the big supermarket buyers, right? And they always want, what's the new thing? What's your new flavor? What's your new product? We need something new, right? So it's all, I'm like always pushed to find something new. And we've done a few things. We've done we tried like sour cream and chives. That's the number 2 potato chip flavor. Okay.
Yep.
Popcorn in New Zealand, bombed. We bombed it, right? But hey, man, you don't know unless you try, right?
Yeah.
Got to get that out there. Got to, the buyer wanted it. She's like, hey, we love this idea. Number 2, but hey, you know what? Didn't work. We've had a couple other flavors like that, right? And so, we've learned that in New Zealand, the mainstay thing is with popcorn, they like the salty sweet kettle corn. Okay. They like salty popcorn. They like butter popcorn. They like caramel popcorn. And then if you start to get a little crazy,
They just like the classics.
oh yeah,
Keep it simple, keep it classic.
right. So that's my base, right? That's my base thing. And then, it's like, well, heck, man, we're only in the popcorn industry. Well, half of the market is also microwave popcorn. So we got into that. So now we do a gourmet style, gluten, dairy, allergy free, vegetarian friendly, all natural kind of popcorn. That's kind of our game in the market. That's our niche. Artesian made. It's it tastes like what grandma made. What's better?
Right.
This big industrial. Do you like the cookies from the supermarket or do you like grandma's? Well, that's
Right.
the kind of
Absolutely.
popcorn we make, right? So we make our popcorn like that. And dude, nothing industrial holds a candle to mine. Even though we make an industrial product, right? We still make it the old-fashioned way. Lots of TLC, lots of blood, sweat, and tears. And hey, man, when you make something from scratch, when you use good ingredients and it tastes good, people buy it again.
People buy it.
That's it, man.
Right.
That's it.
Have you considered, branching and coming into the US with the popcorn line, or are you sticking, like you spoke about earlier, stay somewhere that you're secure and you're there and there's not a crazy amount of this competition, and to put your place in, put yourself in a place where it's a losing battle. Is that kind of your view on the US?
You know what? I would love to get into the U.S. And I've had so many people ask me this question. And here's the deal. Okay. Quite simply, I'm in $1 million game. In the U.S., they're in $1 billion game.
Yep. No, I get it. That step, it's not, it goes from not just scaling into the US to taking a leap to be able to expand to that broad of a market. I'm sure
Man,
it's
what?
got to be something big to tackle.
I just, quite simply, I don't have the cash flow for it. Those guys would just market me out. Somewhere like maybe Whole Foods could be an option, or Trader Joe's or something like that would kind of be my style. But Walmart wouldn't. I mean, Walmart wants American made products, right? So then I would have to, start a factory over here and do all kind of that. And you know what, man, I got enough to do.
With the risks that's compared to that upside, it definitely doesn't seem like it lines up. That risk management,
Right.
as we know in business, is one of the biggest factors for sure.
I'm not greedy.
Sure.
I'm not greedy, man. I got enough to take care of me. And one of the things what I've learned is, what, you may get a good deal. You may screw somebody down so tight and get a great deal for you. Okay. But when you call them, they're not going to pick up the phone. They won't talk to you, right? They're going to talk to the guy where they're making some profit. So I've learned everybody needs a little piece of the pie, man. Everybody needs a little cut. And so, that's what I've learned. Everybody needs a percentage. Everybody's got bills to pay. And so, that's the way I look at it. I'm in a partnership with these guys, right? I'm in a partnership with my distributor. I'm a partnership with my supermarkets. I'm a partnership with my suppliers, right? We all have a little piece of this supply chain, and everybody's got to make a little piece or it doesn't work.
Right. Eventually it runs out. You add too many people to that line, that margin gets smaller and smaller.
That's right.
And smaller.
And in New Zealand, man, it's a village. Okay. And so let's say, for example, you got 3 dudes that make popcorn seeds. Okay. You tick off 2 of them and you got 1 left.
Not a lot of supply.
You could be in trouble. So I've learned to be nice. Don't burn your bridges. Okay. And you know what? Even if somebody wrongs you, you know what? I say, no, thank you. and I just move on, right? I just
Right.
move on.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't try to get back
Absolutely.
at people. I don't try to get anything over on anybody. You know what? I just let the universe take care of that kind of stuff. And I concentrate on what I'm
No,
doing.
completely agree.
I concentrate on what I'm doing and what I'm trying to be good at, right? And that's making popcorn and getting it to
Right.
my customers.
Too busy to argue and too busy to hold on to grudges, and there's definitely a bigger picture involved with all of it,
Oh
like you
yeah.
said, with
Oh
the
yeah.
universe. Just keep moving,
Oh
do
man.
you, and be happy.
And buddy, I've been screwed and tattooed, man. I mean, being a business owner, I will tell you, is one of the most ungrateful, selfless jobs you will ever do. And they say it's lonely at the top. It is lonely, okay?
It's lonely all the way to
Whew.
get to the top.
You know what? You know
Yep.
what? At the end of the day, my staff go home. I'm still sitting there and I still got that problem. They don't
Right.
care. They don't care because, hey man, it's not their baby. And it just
Yep.
is what it is, right? It's not good. It's not bad. It's just an is what it is thing.
Yeah,
You know?
we make that choice as business owners to do it. We choose to hold that weight a lot of
That's
times,
right.
and people don't really understand
No.
what that weight can actually be sometimes. And when you're collecting a paycheck versus paying the paycheck, it's a different responsibility to worry about the money in the business, because that money has to pay for your house just as much as it has to pay for mine.
I'll
So
tell you.
I
Yep.
can completely respect that.
I'll tell you what, man. You're exactly right. Because one Christmas, we had been in the supermarkets for a year or two, and hey, man, it's ups and downs, and it's got a cycle as well. When we didn't understand that, and December, January are pretty tough for us. The rest of the year, we're creaming it, right? So one December, I had one of my suppliers call me while I'm on the way home to have my 2-week off break, right? We shut down the factory in New Zealand, man. Everybody has a vacation. Everybody goes on holiday. New Zealand is a very different country than the U.S., okay? Your job is part of your life. It is not your life. And people make that
Right.
very, very well known, okay? They don't care. They want enough money to get through the weekend, and that's it, right? So, it is what it is. It's just a different culture. It's a different thing. And it was good
That
for me.
work life balance,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
They're definitely keeping that in check.
Exactly. So one of the saddest things I can ever think of is, we wrapped up the factory. I'm going home for my 2-week break, man. I'm going on holiday down to the beach, rah, 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 having a good time. And this lady calls me, man, and she's a mean one. It's not a nice one, right? She's a tough, tough person. And she calls me and she says, hey, you owe me this invoice, a couple $1,000s. And I just said, hey, it's Christmas. Can't I just pay you back in January? Because man, we were tight. We were tight. And she just said, if you don't pay me, don't call me in the new year, because you ain't getting no boxes from me. So for my Christmas present, guess what I got to do?
You got to pay that
I got to
invoice.
pay. I got to put a couple $1,000s in the bank and pay her. You know
Mhm.
what? And that kind of, that's tough. That's tough, man. That was in the early days, right? That kind of stuff doesn't get to me anymore. But that's when I wasn't so tough. I'm hard now. Don't much fade me.
Right.
Don't much bother me. You get tough. People screw you over. They screw you down. And it is what it is. It just, things happen, man. I've had people walk on me. I've had in business with me for 4 or 5 years. Worked for me for 4 or 5 years, man. And dude, if you're with me, you're my family. I take care of you.
Right.
Like I've done things for people. Like this lady's mother was sick and she needed to move her from the middle of the island up to where we live up in Auckland. She didn't have the money. Man, I just paid for her moving, right? Things like that, And they say thank you. But then, if something gets hard, something gets tough.
Just takes that right situation in business for it to go south. It's very unfortunate.
It does.
Very
It does.
unfortunate.
The only person that's left standing with me is my business partner. Everybody else is there, and they're part of the team, and man, I love them and everything. But, hey, they're getting paid, and
Yep.
it's just different. It's just different. If you've been a business owner It's different than being an employee. It's just a different thing, man. You're on the other side, and it's positive and negative on one side, it's positive and negative on the other. And you got to figure out what you want, what's good for you.
Yep. What is your stress level?
Yeah,
What is that level of stress you can handle and still be a functioning person? Because it's definitely, yes, we all have stress. If you're a W-2 employee for somebody, there's stress involved.
sure.
You got to get to work, you got to do that. But then there's everybody thinks the grass is greener on the other side until they see what problems comes with
That's it, man.
that grass on the other side.
The thing is, I don't have to be at work all the time. I don't have to physically be in the factory, but I'm pretty much on call, like almost 24/7, man. You know?
Yep. And at least mentally, right? Like I
Oh,
know real entrepreneurs that are passionate about what they do. It's every second of every
it's
day
something, man.
when if you're at the beach, if you're with the family, you're still trying to have that work-life balance, but it's really easy to always be in your head. You're thinking about what I got to do tomorrow, what happened today, how can I fix this, what's the next step always.
Yep.
And people don't realize that, and it's a big piece that has to happen, in your mindset of what you really
Yeah,
want. It all sounds great to own the business, to be the CEO, to do this, but are you ready and are you willing to hold that weight
sure.
and be that person?
I'll be very honest with you, man. I'm an open, straight up kind of dude. I try to be politely direct with people, and I'll tell you what, I wasn't naturally cut out for this. I learned this. I learned
Right.
this game over time. It took me a while. I wasn't naturally like a business owner and being able to handle the stress. I didn't even want employees, man. I didn't even want staff. I was a hired gun lone wolf in the IT industry. Okay, I do my own thing. I'll be on your team, but I don't want to run your team. No, 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 no. That guy messed up. You go talk to him. Don't ask me about it. You know.
Right.
I mean, but like if you're gonna do it, you got to do it. You got to take these bits and pieces.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And it's so rewarding from my experience, being in those roles, owning a business, whether you have one employee or 100, the reward for me is what's there, right? That I'm somebody that enjoys the grind.
yeah,
I enjoy building something, doing something that's hard, tackling that. And I think that if you if you can't find a place to where you can begin to embrace that, then your journey as an entrepreneur is going to be a hard one. It's
sure,
going to be a tough one. Learn to embrace it.
yep,
I want to ask
sure.
you, being in supply chain and all of that, was there a big effect for you over the last couple of years with things that have gone on in the world? Did it really impact you? Were there a lot of things that you had to overcome? Any hurdles that you experienced over these last couple of years?
Well, New Zealand, man, they locked us down. The only
Yeah,
place you could go, the only two places you could go were home, right, or to the supermarket. And luckily, a guy like me that was a food manufacturer, I got to go to work. But
yeah,
because if we weren't making food for the supermarket, nothing's on the shelf, man. So I was so
absolutely.
fortunate because I'm the kind of guy, man. I go stir crazy. I mean, I can't stay in the house all day. It's not my thing. I got to go. I got to be out. So it's just my style. It's my makeup. It's who I am. And so I was very, very thankful that I got to go to work, and my staff did too. So we did well. We had some ups and downs, right? We had some ups and downs during COVID. But overall, we did okay. Because here again, we're a snack food, and people are gonna buy popcorn at the supermarket when,
People like to snack
hey
sometimes.
man, when there's no restaurants open, and you can't travel anywhere, you can't go anywhere, and the only place you can buy food is one place, and I'm supplying that place. Not too shabby. Not too shabby.
Absolutely,
But hey, you
absolutely.
know what? I felt it on some other things, right? Really, really felt it, because there's a few things that I do get internationally. It's just, way more cost effective for me to get it internationally. And so it was a strain, like I don't have supply on some things, and it's going to be here, it's not here, and it's been a nightmare. And then like with staffing and things, the government. the government, was handing out money a lot, and people didn't need to work. And so
Yep.
people decided they were just not going to work anymore.
Yep. Just stay at home.
Hey, man. Hey, why not? Right?
Get paid the same or more to sit at home. Why would I go to
I
work?
cannot fault anybody that does that. Right? I mean, if I could, I would. But, that's not what I'm in right now. That's not my position. So it has been unbelievably hard to find staff. And, the country was locked down. And so in New Zealand, a lot of the staff, okay, the entry-level workers are immigrants, and we weren't having any of those because
You couldn't.
that's right. That's right. So, I mean, I don't want to get into politics, politics or whatever, but I don't agree with some of the decisions that the government made, because long term they've greatly affected the economy. Okay, and just look at the New Zealand dollar right now. Okay, we're sucking it. So, and these guys are in control. These guys are in full control, right? And you know what? Most people are happy. Okay, most people are happy if they're making money and they're paying their bills. And you know what? And they got kids, and their kids are happy, and they're feeding their kids, and their kids are going to good school. Most time, people ain't worried about too much other stuff, right?
Yep.
So when you start causing issues like that, we got problems.
Starts to shake things
Oh
up.
yeah,
That's for
yeah.
sure.
So now the country's back open, and things are starting to happen again. And what happened is all the good people that were locked down, they're like, hey, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm going to Australia. Better economy, make more money per hour. Aussie dollar's way stronger, cheaper cost of living. I got free entry because I'm a New Zealand citizen. It's reciprocal. No issues getting in and out. I'm gone. So a lot of the good people, we lose. So yeah, on that.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that for sure. A big shift, right? People, large amounts of population shifting in a lot of directions inside the US, going from, northern states to the southern states, pushing out of, the western, just a lot of population shift, which definitely you don't see the effect right away. That's something that takes a couple of years sometimes
Sure.
before you start to see that trickle effect.
Yeah.
So I was definitely curious to know if you experienced a lot of those issues as well. And it seems like you have great intuition about your business
Sure.
now at this point, even in the beginning, to catch the idea of popcorn being that opportunity, and the way you've continued to move forward. So I want to talk a little bit about your mindset,
Okay.
as far as those uphill battles. I know you've had a hard battle to fight.
Sure.
If you can tell us when that came in your entrepreneurial journey with this business, what was the timing like with that, and give us a little bit of how that came to be for you.
Are you asking about the cancer thing?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So, man, I mean, hey, my business is my baby. That's what I do. I'm just working, doing my thing, and just working hard, trying to make money, and just clawing at it, right? And so, I was in the factory one day, right, and I start limping around on my left leg, and I don't go to the doctor much. I've never been sick, right? I've had my tonsils out. That's it. Okay? Other than that, broke a few bones, playing sports, being silly, whatever. Nothing else, right? So start limping around the factory, and I ignore it for a while, and I'm like, gosh, you know what? This isn't getting any better. And so I go to the doctor. You got a torn butt muscle. A couple more weeks, this isn't getting any better. I need another opinion. I go to another doctor. Torn butt muscle. Go to another doctor, torn butt muscle. Okay? So this goes on for several months. And the more I walk around, the more it hurts. And I consider myself a pretty tough guy, And it was getting to the point where, like, I'd be in the factory 9-10 hours a day. I go home, man, and I'm in the bed. I'm in the bed until I get out of bed, until I come to work the next day. So I just happen to have to go into the hospital to get some blood work done. And the hematologist and I kind of have a very open relationship, and we're very frank with one another. And she just said, "What are you limping around for?" And I'm like, "I got a torn butt muscle." No, and she's like, "No, you don't." "Yeah, I do." Argument back and forth. "You're getting an X-ray today." "No, I'm not. That's silly. It's a waste of time and money. I got to get back to my factory. Blah blah blah. Okay. Get an X-ray. Go back to the factory. She calls me a week later. "Dude, you got some news for you." "Okay. You got cancer in your left hip." I'm like, "Oh boy." And she
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, man." So I had a meltdown right then. And let me tell you why. Because my brother's best friend, my fraternity brother, my aunt and uncle's godson, had a couple-year battle with cancer and died at, I think, the age of 38. Okay. Left 2 kids and his wife, and, just gone, right? Had a couple-year battle. We had a party for him the year before. We saw him. The last thing he said to me was, "Trent, I'm coming to New Zealand. I'm beating this cancer. I'm coming to New Zealand. I'm coming to see you." I said, "I'll take you everywhere." Okay, cool. Well, I'm regressing a year back, right? And I get back, going to work, doing my thing. I get a phone call. He's gone. He's just gone.
Wow.
And so that's immediately what I go to. "Oh my God, I'm going to die like Chris,"
Right.
And so she said, "Well, what are you doing? Are you walking on your leg?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "You have about a 1/4 inch of bone holding your leg on. Every single step you take, you could potentially break your leg. If you break your leg, we can't save your leg. It will probably come off, and we definitely cannot fix an implant for you or anything. Get to the hospital right
Wow.
now. Get to the hospital right now and get to the ER." "How are you getting to the ER?" "I'm driving my car and I'm walking to the ER." And she's like, "Well, once you get to the ER, get in a wheelchair." I'm just like,
This escalated fast.
holy moly, holy moly, holy moly, right? So, I get to the ER, the ER doctor starts talking to me, asking me these questions, these leading questions, and this and that, like, "Who runs your business? What do you do? Blah, 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 this and that." And I'm just like, whoa, 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 whoa. What are you getting at, man? He's like, "You're going to be here a while." And I said, "I have a business to run." And he said, "Well, you're going to have your team run it." And I'm like, "My team doesn't run my business. I run it."
Right.
So, I stayed for the weekend, and, I met with orthopedic and blah, blah, blah. And he told me, we're going to put an implant in. And I said, "Great. I'm out of here. I'm checking out. When you guys have appointments for me, you let me know. When you need to do something, I'm not laying here in the hospital, taking up space and room when I'm well functioning enough to get out there and go do my thing." So I left, right? So over the next several months, appointments. And, it got worse and worse, man. It got worse and worse, like to the point where I couldn't take the pain anymore. And I had to check myself in. And,
Wow.
yeah. So I ran my business from my hospital bed. I had suppliers coming in for meetings. I had my management team coming in to meet me once a week or whatever, and that's what I did. And what would happen was, okay, they're like, "We're going to do an implant, and we've taken the X-rays, taken the scans. Well, this public health care deal, okay, it takes 5-6 weeks to make the implant. Okay, we're ready. We're ready. Do another X-ray, do another scan. Oh, this implant won't fit. Cancer's progressed." Finally, after 5 or 6 months, right? And the orthopedic told me, said, "You're lucky that the hematologist caught this, because it's not, you'd be dead in 6 months, man." Okay.
Oh, wow.
Well, we're working on like 5.5 months. Okay. And in between these implant situation, they were like, "You know what? it's too costly for you to be taking up a hospital bed while we're waiting for this. We're going to put you into an assisted living place. Because man, I was like on crutches or a wheelchair. Okay. And I couldn't even carry my tray. I couldn't make my dinner. I mean, I couldn't do my laundry. I was just like, man, I was on crutches or bedridden, right?
Right.
Tough situation. So they put me in this nursing home, right? Dude, it's a dementia nursing home that is your last stop before it's over Red Rover.
Wow. It's definitely not the most conducive place to be in, I'm sure.
Hey, man, I'm talking like this place was legit funny farm crazy. Okay.
Wow.
And like my friends came in the first couple times, and then after that, they were like, because I call them, man, I start like, I can't be here. I gotta leave. Come pick me up. I need some fresh air. I can't stay here. They would be like, we're not coming in. Meet us at the door. Okay. smelling of urine and poop. Okay.
Wow.
The lady next door to me checked out. Okay. Totally checked out. Banging her head on the wall at 4 a.m. Okay. And look, they thought I had dementia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they thought I had dementia too. I'm like, no, I'm fine. No, I'm here to get a hip implant. And they're just like, oh yeah, whatever. No. Okay.
Assuming that you just don't know what you're
Oh
talking
yeah.
about.
Oh yeah. Okay. My mental health went downhill, my friend. Okay. I thought they were waiting me out. I thought they decided they were waiting me out and this was over. Because, dude, people were checking out left and right, man. Okay. I mean, people were dying in rooms down the hall. Okay. A couple a week. And I'm like, this is the deal. So I'm calling my parents going like, I love you. This is over.
No, I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, that has to be, a situation nobody's ever, you never imagine ever.
So, I come in to see the doctor for one of the appointments, the orthopedic, and he's just like, what is wrong with you, man? And I said, dude, I think you guys are waiting me out to die. I mean, blah, blah, blah. The 6-month thing, we're 5 months out of. He's like, what do you want me to do? And I said, you got to get me out of here. Check me back into the hospital, right? Put me back in. Okay. Couple weeks, whatever. All right. We're going to do the implant, right? 2 or 3 days before, he comes in, he's like, it's progressed too far. We're cutting your leg off. Can't do it. Cutting your leg off. Well, I had a meltdown, right? And I had a meltdown. And my dad gets involved. My parents are on most of my phone calls, right? With me. On like the speaker, because like, dude, I mean, you're getting news like this. Something they tell you something, man, you totally check out. You don't even remember the next 20 minutes what they're saying because you're just trying to process what they've told you. So, my folks are on the phone. My dad's like, no, it's not happening. You're not doing this. You waited 6 months, blah, blah, blah. Give this guy a chance. You don't know who he is. He's a fighter. He'll make it. He's like no one you've ever seen. He's like, well, let me see what I can do. So he comes back and he said, hey, we'll do it. We'll leave the leg. He said, essentially, we're going to cut the leg off and we're going to sew it back on. And we don't know how it's going to function. We don't know, if he's going to have any feeling. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. Okay. Just leave it there.
Just
leave
it up to chance.
Just leave it there for him. He'll make it work. Okay. So had the surgery and had about 7 or 8 more surgeries after that. The leg was infected and they were going in trying to clean it out, get the infection. Infection just wouldn't go away. So finally, healed up. I healed up, 4 months in the hospital. Okay. 2 months bedridden. 2 months straight, I was not allowed out of the bed. Okay. And let me tell you, humbling. Let me tell you, humbling. Okay. 4 nurses have to come in and roll you over like this and roll you back to sit on a bedpan. And then they get to wipe your rear end for you. Okay. Humbling, my friend. Humbling. Hey, but you know what?
Yeah.
The whole way through, man. Dude, I'm a baller, man. And what was I doing? Still on my computer. I'm still on the phone. Still running my business. Because that's what I do. That's how I run the show,
Right.
man.
Right.
I don't,
Was there a, an inner monologue with yourself through this? Was there ever, moments where, you know, just self-doubt set in or anything like that?
oh yeah,
Or was there something that helped to, bring you back down and kind of keep you grounded to stay focused and, continue doing what you needed to in the business? What were some of the things that you were doing to, keep yourself, mentally strong,
sure.
why you went through this?
Um, to me, it's very, very simple, right? If I didn't run the business, we would go bankrupt. That's it. And
Yeah.
here, I mean, so there's my motivation, right? I can't let my baby of 8 or 9 years go down the tube because I'm having some health issues. I'm tougher than that, you know. And hey, you know what? I can understand a lot of people in their position or whatever, they couldn't do it, and but I don't have a family, okay? I don't have kids. I don't have any of that. My baby is my business. My kids are my staff.
Right.
That's how I conceptually do this, okay? So I can't leave them, right? I can't leave my family. I can't leave my baby. And you know what? Here's the other thing, right? Lay in a hospital bed, feeling sorry for yourself, okay, for hours and hours and hours every day is not good for you. But thinking about something else and putting your mind on something else is way better, okay? So in a way, I was thankful that I had something.
It was almost your therapy,
Yeah,
right? The
yeah,
business, that grind, that push, that was,
that's it.
almost therapy for you
That's it.
to help push through it.
One of the things was, people are just kind of like, people are like, you you had a meeting with your supplier in the hospital when you couldn't even get out of the bed? And I'm like, well, he asked me for a meeting, and I said, hey man, if you want to have a meeting with me, you can't come. I can't. I'm not at the factory, but you can come to my hospital room, and hey, we can have a meeting there. And like,
Yeah.
the dudes show up, and I'm like, cool, and people were like, wow. So that even motivated me more. They're like, wow. It's kind of like,
You knew you were doing more. You were different. You were that outlier,
that's right, man.
right? Like people assume you get in a situation like that, and a lot of people will just give
Sure,
up. But that's the if we see some of the things that happen, that's usually the thing that is different.
sure.
The ones that don't give up, the ones that continue to do those day-to-day things that they can to a certain
That's
extent,
right.
and really continuing to push yourself, because once the mind goes, even if the body's
Yeah.
weak, even if the body is doing something, once the mind goes, you can't come back
No,
at
man.
that point. You've lost the
That's
drive.
right. That's right. I call it mind muscle, right? And my mind
Yep.
muscle is super strong, and it runs everything else I got going on. So and I have to say, my parents were there with me, and I'm very, very fortunate that they were there. They are very good people, very strong, very supportive. I couldn't have done. I would not be where I am today without them. And we were a team. We were a team together, and they helped get me through. They helped get me through the leg thing. Okay. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and you know what? Here's the thing, right? Um, and not every day is a good day. And what I would do is, hey man, if I'm having a bad day, okay, I just take a time out. I just take a time out, and I just try to reset. I take the afternoon off.
Yep.
I take the afternoon off. I'd watch some movies, okay. I'd have some friends come visit. I play some games, whatever. Taking the day off. I'm getting a good night's sleep, and tomorrow morning, dude, I'm recharged and I'm back at it.
Yep.
That's how I roll.
Just that little bit of release, right? And I know too, just as an entrepreneur, it's really easy to get in that rhythm of grinding 24/7 a day, even without, going through something like having cancer. You have to take that time. You got to take some time. You don't have to go out. You don't have to do this. sit down. If you like to read, sit down and read. Stop thinking about work for a little bit. Play video games, play something, do something different.
Yep.
You need that time.
Yep.
And, that goes back to the mind muscle. The strength
That's
of your
right.
mind is going to help to continue to perpetuate you
That's
forward
right.
and make progress. So it's good to, hear that even in an aspect of going through something so difficult, right? That most people would resort to just worry,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, I was
Worrying about
scared.
tomorrow, right?
This story gets even deeper, man. This gets way deeper, right? So I got out of the hospital, right? I got out of the hospital. My folks went home. Hey, what am I doing, man? I'm back in my factory working on crutches, limping around with this leg. It's a couple inches shorter than the other one, and I got to get this, shoe made. And so, they cut out all of my hip bone. They cut out all my hip bone, and part of my butt and part of my leg and part of my ab and all that. And so my leg's shorter than the other, and I just have like what they call a floating femur. So that thing's just in there, kind of floating around with the tissue. Let me tell you, quite painful, but whatever, right? I'm alive. I'm doing my thing. I got my leg. I got a chance. So I get back to work. Mom and dad leave. Okay, great. Well, I get my next scan. I come in. Lucky Trent, you got pancreas and lung cancer now.
Wow.
Oh boy. Oh boy. So obviously the pancreas thing was more important, the most crucial thing. So they decided to do that surgery first. Mom and dad can't come down. I have to go through and do it on my own. Get half my pancreas and spleen cut out. Well, guess what? It's a misdiagnosis. They screwed it up. Okay. And there's no repercussions in the public sector, man. Okay. You can fill out a complaint form. They don't care. Okay. And I'm like, dude, guys. And they try to do this switcheroo thing on me, right? Oh, congratulations, you don't have cancer. I'm like, but y'all, you cut out half of my pancreas and spleen. What's the deal?
It's a big deal.
It's a blood clot. I'm looking at the report. You cut this out for a blood clot. Dude, we've all seen surgeries online. We've all seen surgeries on TV. Everybody knows what a dang blood clot looks like. We couldn't tell from the surgery the way we did it.
Wow.
Give me a break. Give me a break. Okay. So obviously I have a bittersweet feeling about all that, right? So I don't have pancreas cancer, thank God, but now these guys have compromised my health for the rest of my entire life, and there's nothing I can do about it. Okay. Whatever. Let's move on. Lung cancer, have the lung thing. Okay. Go in, have that surgery. And so I'm gonna wait for the clock there. Okay, so the orthopedic found out that I had that I was there, and I decided, man, this leg's infected, and I don't want these guys dealing with this anymore. I just don't care. I don't know what I'm doing about it, but I'm not doing anything else with them. I think eventually one day somehow I'm going to have to go back to America. Okay, maybe I'll get it fixed then. But I am sick and tired. These guys have had all their chances. I'm done. Okay, so I wouldn't go see him. Well, he found out I was in the hospital. Okay, so he comes in while I'm all drugged up. And he's like, hey, I found out you were here. The wire that we put in to hold your leg bone together is the source of the infection. It's a foreign body, and we're going in and we're taking it out. Okay, whatever. Yeah. So go in, they rip it out. And I get infection in my lung. Already have infection in my leg. I was supposed to be in the hospital 2 weeks. Ended up being like 2.5 months. Okay. And so this heart surgeon comes in. So I've got a vacuum thing on my leg. I've got an IV port line in my arm because they're giving me IV drugs to try to get rid of all the infection. I'm ripped open on the back of my shoulder, with this lung surgery. And I'm on crutches with a short leg. And all I can do basically is get myself back and forth to the bathroom. Okay. This heart surgeon comes in, tough cookie. and he says, hey, you're in good enough shape to go home. We need your bed, and you're leaving tomorrow. Wow. Okay.
That.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm like, what about all this stuff? And he's like, you'll manage. Okay. Dude, next day, they pack me up, take me downstairs, put me in a taxi, home I go. Okay. All right. Well, I was on in New Zealand for pain management. They use methadone a lot. In the U.S., we know methadone as the drug that we help heroin addicts get off of. It's a highly effective pain management drug. Okay. I was on that the first time with my leg. Had no issues, no problems. Well, when I got out, they didn't send me home with any methadone. All right. 2 or 3 days, I'm going crazy, man. I feel like a crack addict, right? I'm itching, I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm taking my clothes off down to my undies. Then I'm freezing, I'm sweating, I'm everything, I'm this and that. I'm going crazy. I want to beat people up. I'm angry, I'm mad, I'm frustrated. I don't know what's going on. Losing my temper, whatever. 2 or 3.
On top of everything else.
2 or 3 days, okay. 2 or 3 days, I was like, oh my gosh. It hit me. I was like, I think I'm having methadone withdrawal. Call the doctor. They're like, oh, well, we can't do anything for you because you're released from the hospital. So you call the hospital. Dude, ain't nobody answering the phone, right? So voicemail, whatever, finally get a hold of me. They're like, well, we can't do anything for you because you're not in the hospital. I'm like, oh my God. So somehow they have to write a prescription, okay, to my GP to give to me, and then I have to find a pharmacy that's got methadone. Dude, it's like finding
almost non-existent.
Right. So then I go up to the pharmacy, right, and they treat me like a crack addict. And so I'm getting that on top of everything. And so they only give you enough, right, to get you through like a couple days. So, I'm having to do this process a couple times a week for several weeks. Finally, you know what? I got to the point where I just got so angry with it. I just humped it, dude. I just got over it. Through all that, man, I started having suicidal thoughts, bad thoughts, all these kinds of things I had to deal with. And I figured out, I knew it's the drugs. It's the drugs. This isn't what I want to do. Right. And what had happened, a year and a half before is one of my best friends that owned the restaurant that we go down to on the waterfront, the Mexican restaurant, go down there, have a beer, hang around, eat food, hang out together on the weekends. I was such good friends with this guy that I used to call Mexican bingo for him on Tuesday night, right? Because he hated doing it. I would do it for him. He'd give me a couple beers and dinner, right? Whatever. It was a fun deal. I loved it. So he goes bankrupt on a Monday. On a Tuesday night, I'm calling bingo. His wife's in the restaurant having dinner with her friends. He hangs himself.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So I got all this going on in my head, right? About what happened to him and then what's going on with me. Everything, man. So that was mentally probably the toughest time for me, right?
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, man. And so what's happened is, they've released me from the hospital. They don't want me back in the hospital. I'm good enough to be out, but, I'm dependent on, this pain management drug because they didn't wean me off of it properly. And I'm having to wait for the doctors. I'm having to wait for the nurses to show up at my house to come help me bandage my leg up and do all this kind of stuff. Man, I'm telling you, dude, it was crazy. It was crazy. And, what I would figure out is like, if I started having a bad thought and I thought about doing something, I just have to remove myself from the situation, right? So if I was at home, got to go. Get in my car, got to leave. And so, there was that going on and all that. So I beat I beat the lung cancer, so that was all good. Next scan, no, you do have pancreas cancer, bud. No, really,
Oh, wow.
really, you do. Okay. I'm like, how do you guys know? This time we're going to do a biopsy because last time you wouldn't do a biopsy and you cut me out, and nothing was there. So this takes several months, right? Several months. Over, me arguing with the doctor about like, I would want radiation on this. Okay. But we got to figure out blah, 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 blah. Okay. 6 months go by. They found it was about the size of a fingernail clipping, okay? Size of a baseball, man, growing into my guts, right?
Mm.
I'm like, you know what? I'm reading the scans. I'm seeing the stuff. This is getting bad. This is getting bad. I know it's getting bad. I look at myself in the mirror, okay? I know I'm dying. I look like death. I know I am dying, right? So I spring the money and I go to a private guy. And he's like, hey, there's nothing we're going to do for you, bud. It's growing into your stomach. We won't do radiation on you because it's too risky. We burn a hole through you. Don't know you bleed to death. Can't do surgery because it's too risky. On the operating table, your stomach is a sensitive organ. We cut into that. Can't stop the bleeding. You'll die on the operating table. I'm like, bro, you got to do something. And he said, we can't do anything. And I said, people with pancreas treatment only have a 5% chance. You're telling me I'm going to go home and die, man? And he's like, you may make it. There's nothing I can do for you.
Mm.
Wowzers, right?
Yeah, that's a heavy one to hold.
Righto. And I'm thinking, you know what, man? I have waited around and not going back to the States. And the reason I didn't go back to the States, right, is because I got this public health care. I don't have insurance in the States. I've lived in New Zealand 17 years, man. What do I need insurance for, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to come home, bankrupt my parents, die, and then they're going to be broken. I'm going to be dead, and they'll be sad, right? I'd rather just be dead. So I'm just going to hang out here, and I'm going to die. So I thought about doing that for a few weeks, right? And one day I was on the phone with my folks, and I just thought, you know what? Chris died. Lizard died. We all had to put them in the ground. I'm not dying. I'm just not doing it. I'm not dying on my parents. I'm living for them. I can't do this to them. They are so heartbroken. They're in such despair. There's nothing they can do. What am I going to do, man? How am I going to fix this? Right? So then at that point, I decided I'm going to make some real changes because I hadn't really made a lot of changes at that point, right? So I started changing my diet. I started changing my mental outlook, my emotions, and all these things, right? And so I decided, you know what? Me and my dad figured out there's a loophole. Well, not a loophole, but, with Obamacare, right? You can pay for your insurance through the marketplace, the government marketplace, and have pre-existing conditions, and they have to accept you, okay? It's expensive, but it's affordable, right? So
less expensive than the alternative.
I mean, dude, I've cost New Zealand and here already millions and millions of dollars, man, And so I got my insurance sorted. I got on a plane. I talked to an oncologist here, talked to the radiologist. I came home. And I was like, you know what? I just can't give up. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die trying. And on my headstone is going to be this guy never quit until the end, right? I mean, that's where I was,
Absolutely.
So I got home and I saw this radiation guy and I decided, you know what? I'm just going to stay local. I don't want to go all over the country with my parents and drag them all over the place, okay? I did that in New Zealand already. It was really hard on them. Let's just start at home and see what we can do. I know they've got good cancer treatment up here in Arkansas where my folks are. I know that from my research. It's my evaluation. It's what I think. I'm going to go for it. So that's what I did. So this old country kind of radiologist guy kind of come in and he said, man, this is going to be tough. But if we don't do something, it's going to get you. And I'm like, what about all my concerns about this and that and blah, 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 blah. And he said, hey, we got good machinery here. Those are all risk and it all could happen. But if we don't do something,
it's not going to matter.
And we got to do something, buddy. I said, all right, let's go for it. So I did the radiation. Had to wait about 3 months. Clear, man. Clear.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yep. So then, I did immunotherapy as well after that, which is kind of the new kind of thing. Instead of chemotherapy, a lot of cancers can be treated with immunotherapy. And so I did that. And, Man, now I'm 18 months cancer free, man. 18 months, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So
Wow. I
yeah,
mean, that's a, I mean, a journey, some ups and downs with that process. And are you still currently in the States? Or are you back in New
yeah.
Zealand
I'm
now?
currently in the States, and now that I'm cancer free, man, I'm working on getting a an implant for my leg now. Okay, so I'm
Okay.
fixing that 4 inches. I've got 3 surgeries planned this year. I've done one of them already, and they've done a prep surgery. They're going to put the permanent implant in April, and then they got to do some bone lengthening procedure on the femur to give me my 4 inches back. But it's like this custom deal, never done before at Mayo. It's going to be in the journals. They're all excited up there, and I'm just like, dude, you guys fix me, I'll make you famous. I don't care. Just like,
Right. Right.
you
And
know,
have you been running the business, from the States, I
yep,
assume, had to put some staff
yep,
together to make sure everything
yep.
continued to
Yeah,
function.
it's hard.
That's
It's hard, man.
Yeah, definitely the remote work. I work remote in my businesses, but in a manufacturing style business and a distribution like that, the remote aspect has to be a hard obstacle to
I got
overcome.
cameras, you know, I got cameras, and man, dude, I know what's going on. You can't pull the wool over my eyes. Okay. I've had so
Right.
many,
Well, and
yeah.
you know the
Oh
numbers, right?
yeah.
You know the numbers, and all it takes is to really know your numbers, and you can tell where there's an issue.
Yep. I know who's on what line. I know who's working what. I know the hours. I know whatever. I know all the stuff. I mean, hey, right? We all know that there's some hanky panky going on, right? When the boss ain't around, they're playing a bit. Okay. But we're getting the orders out the door. We're getting the bills paid. Okay. I'm not going to sweat the small stuff, right?
Right.
I'm just like, hey, man, I cannot believe that we're still hanging on like this, right? I honestly,
Right. I mean, especially with everything you had to go through, everything you're still going
yeah,
through, to be able to run a sustainable business, to go through those things and do it, it speaks for itself. I mean, it's a hard task to tackle, but like we spoke on it in the beginning, that's the
it
driver,
is, man.
right? To continue to grind, continue to drive, one
Yeah,
step, one more day, just
that's right.
keeping yourself mentally strong, and do what you can. As you saw,
That's
you
it.
came in with a little bit more physical importance, the diet, the exercises,
Exactly.
doing the
Absolutely.
things that you could, and
Absolutely.
building that whole
Yep.
picture, I think probably contributed a lot
Sure.
to, bringing it back
That's
together,
right.
and being where you are.
Hmm.
Um, I don't want to keep
That's
you
okay.
too much
That's right.
longer. I think that, we went into a lot.
Sure.
I think we've all learned some
Cool.
things about, the popcorn industry and
Cool.
mindset, and that, going through some of these difficult things, that look to the other side, and keep your mind strong, and continue to do every day-to-day task that you can.
Yeah.
That's
That's
something
it, man.
that can help
Yep.
you get to the next day and the
Yep.
next day, and just fight your
That's right.
battles,
One day at a
right? We
time.
all have
Hmm.
battles. They're all different. So we appreciate your time,
My
Trent,
pleasure.
and I look forward to hearing more
Cool.
about how this goes for you,
Awesome.
and getting through that other
I
side.
appreciate it, man. It's been a pleasure to be on.